Hello everybody, it's Elisa here, and today I have a very interesting video for you. And I got this idea especially when last week and this week I got some Tumblr questions, and thank you for asking me these things, because I really feel that we are in like a conversation and I can actually address some issues that you have in recovery. And a lot of times I feel that I talk maybe about my recovery and how it was like for me, but I can also forget a lot of things that I experienced, and I forget to talk about these things. So if you bring up some issues you have in your recovery right now, I would be like, oh my god, I completely forgot that I experienced actually something similar, and I can help you with this. So today I want to talk about again about extreme hunger, but in a different perspective. Last week I did a video about extreme hunger and why it is so important to know that it's a normal reaction after you have been through eating disorders, and you have to respond. But in recovery everything is not so black and white, and there is like so many little details and issues and so many things I could add. So it's sometimes quite like frustrating if I make some video but I can't address like every issue that can be surrounding this one issue. For example, like extreme hunger, there's like so many little like roots, little things I have to talk about. So anyway, today I will talk about extreme hunger, and what if you have been in recovery, let's say like, I don't know, like half a year or at least like quite amount of time, and you are doing everything right. You are eating enough calories, maybe even like following the minimal calorie guidelines. You are not exercising anymore or compensating in any other way. You are not purging, you are not skipping meals, and it seems that you are doing everything right. And you have responded to your extreme hunger, but still something feels off, and you still keep on overeating, and you still keep on binging or having this extreme hunger, and it doesn't feel right anymore. It feels like something is missing. And I had the same experience in my recovery after about half a year or so, when I was in recovery already and I didn't restrict calories anymore, and yeah, I was like doing everything right, but still I found myself overeating. And in one point I knew it can be like extreme hunger, but in other point it felt kind of different by that time, and I didn't understand why. And I started to tune into my body and ask myself why I seem to like still overeat, like why this happens. And I tuned into my body and I asked myself, and the answer that came up was that if I don't overeat, then I would feel deprived. If I stop eating when comfortably full, I am afraid that I will feel deprived. I am afraid that I can't eat enough, or there is not enough food, and I'm afraid that another restriction is coming, and my appetite or my hunger is not fulfilled. So I understood that I still have the fear that the food will be restricted again. This fear didn't come from the present, but it came from my past of having experienced bulimia and eating disorders. And I think it can be similar to maybe like the post-traumatic stress disorder. Like, I'm not a specialist in this, but just like the first connection I made was that the eating disorder is like a trauma. You have been like through trauma of eating disorders, and it can leave some mental scars I believe. And for example, if you have been in a car crash maybe, and it was very terrible experience, like car crash, and you maybe almost like died or something, like it leaves scars. And you can have even the memories of this car crash or the fear you experienced. You can even have these memories maybe like a year later or something, if you don't address it, if you don't start to like recover your mind and your brain from the past trauma and this experience. So I think maybe eating disorder can also be like a trauma, and you have experienced this trauma in your life, and you have to recover your, like mentally, you have to recover your brain, and you have to start rewiring your brain and assuring your body and your brain that the trauma is over. There is nothing threatening me. There is not gonna be any more dieting, any more food restriction, any deprivation. I can eat whatever I want, and the food is always there. If I'm hungry, like half an hour later, the food will be there, always will be there, and I don't have to binge on overeat, because there is no threat anymore, and the eating disorder is over. And I want to tell you about another thing. While I was writing my book, I was searching heavily into this Minnesota starvation experiment. And it was so interesting to me that I made a connection with this particular thing. The men in this starvation experiment, they recovered from the starvation. They recovered completely, like physically, and everything was fine. And the only thing they said, what was lingering after the experiment, was that they still feared that the food was taken away from them. And in logical thinking, they knew that the food is there, but still, like, some men had the fear that the food will be restricted again. And it was like the mental trauma they have had experienced while they were like experiencing this starvation. When they had this lingering like experience after gone through the starvation, then I think maybe if we have gone through eating disorders and also like this trauma of constantly like dieting, restricting, feeling deprived, starving ourselves, purging, over-exercising, and all this, I think it maybe leaves like a scar in your brain, in your mind. And you have to start working on it and have to start recovering your brain from this trauma. So what I did was to, every time I felt anxious and I felt that I have to overeat or otherwise I will feel deprived or there is not enough food, I started to tell myself that there is enough food. The trauma of eating disorders is completely over. I'm not gonna ever diet anymore. I'm not gonna restrict. The food is always there. There is no more deprivation, and I can always eat when I'm hungry again. I don't want to overeat right now because I would feel so bad in my stomach, like physically feel bad. But if I'm hungry again, the food will be always available. So I started to tell this thing in my mind and repeat and affirm to my mind that there was no threat of feeling deprived and the eating disorder was over. So I think this kind of way I rewired my brain to really start to catch up with my physical body recovery and recover my brain, that the eating disorder was completely over. And I think this helped me mentally to let go of the bad habit or the fear that food will be restricted again. And it really helped me to stop binging or overeating or end these extreme hunger cycles. And because by this point, I have to say it many times, I was already like half a year into my recovery. I didn't restrict or compensate or anything, but I still felt like sometimes I will overeat. And I felt it came from the fear that my eating disorder will come back, or I will feel deprived, or I will like tomorrow start another diet or something, because my body still remembered this trauma. And yeah, and also the same kind of thing talks Catherine Hansen, who published the book Brain Over Binge. I don't know if you know her, but I read her book like several years ago, and actually I hope this week I can post the interview I did with her about her story, her recovery, and also the brain connection to eating disorders. So maybe you will be interested to read the interview. Please stay tuned to my website. I will post the article there. And this is also similar, I think, to her story and how she talks about the brain linked to eating disorders and this binging, like particularly binging. She's talking a lot about the brain habitual response to binging. And I think it can be like very similar, and it can really help you. So please check her out. I will post their website and the book link down below if you're interested. And stay tuned with the interview I did with her. And yeah, I hope this video made sense. There's actually like, there is so much thing I want to tell you more, but this video is already so long, so I better stop. But my book is coming out pretty soon, and there is like so much information, and I can't wait to share it with you. And yeah, but anyway, I hope this made something clear to you. If you have any more questions or comments, you can post them down here or my Tumblr account. And yeah, so see you in my next video. Thank you for watching. Ciao.